Hi, and welcome to Washington Square News. This is Op-Ed Live. My name is Matthew Tessler, and I'm joined here today by Lena Rawley and Richard Shu. Our topic of discussion today is the new sexual assault prevention misconduct education training. So, do you guys think that it should be mandatory? Richard?
I suppose it's helpful to have at least some kind of conversation. Like, sexual assault is a very sensitive subject, one that not many people are willing to talk about on their own. Mm-hmm. And so having it mandatory kind of opens the gateway for, some kind of dialogue to take place.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very important that it's mandatory because I think, sexual assault is such a problem on college campuses everywhere. NYU is no exception. And, having this course is going to get a discourse going about consent and sexual assault, which is so important towards ending it,
Right, so it does start the conversation, but in general, how effective do you think the training is actually going to be?
I think it will be effective in definitely, like I said, opening up a discourse because, it takes you through sexual assault and it talks especially about consent, and I think that's a really important point to discuss, and that's something that the course itself emphasizes. So in that way, discussing consent, yes, it'll be very effective, I think.
That's true, but there are definitely a few aspects to the course itself and the way that it was implemented that are a little problematic. Like, first of all, seniors are basically exempt from having to take this. And so it feels a little more like NYU is just going through the motions in order to wash their own hands of any culpability, as opposed to, actually making sure people know about these ideas of consent and assault and barriers.
Yeah, I do agree. I think if you wanted to make the program even more effective, including seniors in it as well, would be a definite, plus, because then they're going out into the world having the knowledge of how to avoid sexual assault and that sort of thing. Right,
so this training it joins Alcohol EDU in being the second mandatory training online of this type that we have to do. So how do you think that it compares to that general format?
Well, I will say that because sexual assault is kind of, a topic with a little more gravity than alcohol, that people don't really joke about it to the extent that they did about Alcohol EDU. Right. But some of the problems in the format that Alcohol EDU and now this new training have are kind of still there. Like, for example, the progress meter at the bottom, that's the kind of design choice that caters towards the people who are just clicking through and not really willing to pay attention. And really, it's those kind of people who tend to need to pay attention the most.
I think that, despite, the progress bar, which I agree, does make people just want to click through, I think someone will definitely walk away with at least one thing from this, which I think when it comes to sexual assault, that is really important. Whether you walk away with just, realizing how much of an issue it is, or walk away realizing how important consent is and establishing that every step of the way. So I think in that regard, it will, still remain effective. You'll at least take away something.
There will be something, sure. But, we could probably look to have something that's a little more effective than, throw everything against the wall to see what sticks. Hope that the students come away with something,
Okay, well, how about the trigger warnings that were included? So they put those cautions for people that may have been victims of sexual assault, and so that kind of was included.
I think that's a very thoughtful measure. I really do. I understand, wanting to protect people who have been sexually assaulted from, maybe having a panic about it, but I also think it is important for people who have been sexually assaulted to do this course, because I think it definitely allows them to then be able to red flag things in the future, and know how to get out of situations if they are in one next time.
Yeah.
But I can totally understand why someone who has been sexually assaulted wouldn't want to have to go through with this.
At the same time, though, like the course does have a couple of important resources, for sexual assault victims and people going forward from the trauma. And I feel like, just the trigger warning shouldn't necessarily deter people who are looking for a way to move on from their past, because there's definitely a lot of stuff in this course for that.
Yeah, well, I think the bottom line is that it's an important discussion to have, and NYU implementing this sexual assault training definitely is making people have a discussion about it. So it's, it's an important topic. So thank you for joining us.
No problem.
Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more content like this, you can check us out at nyunews.com, or you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at NYU News. We also have a print edition Monday through Thursday. Basically, any NYU building will have it on their front in the newsstands. And don't forget to have an A1 day.